Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Crossroads, the show for and about environmental justice and those who fight the fight with skin as melanated as the days are long. Knowledge is power, and we are breaking down stereotypes in this episode right here. So let's just get straight to the business. So this is going to be a coronavirus-based episode with a social justice lens. I was going to have Danielle from D&H Hair Care to join me. As you may know about her, she is a nurse, so she's on call right now. So I wanted to go ahead and get this portion of the recording done, and hopefully maybe in a subsequent episode she can join me. But right now our nurses and doctors are working tirelessly, in the face of what is going on right now. So I wanted to call her out just to let her know and let everyone, those who know her and support her hair care line, to know that not only is she working tirelessly to make sure that y'all got y'all's edges slicked and your curls popping, but also that she's a nurse providing a service to the community as well. So I wanted just to uplift her. So I'm going to give flowers. In addition to Danielle, I want to give some flowers, in this case, to Henrietta Lacks. If you don't know who she is, there is a book about her life by a woman named Rebecca Skloot, and the book is called The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. But she was a woman who died of cancer, whose cells kept living on. They've lived well beyond her death, and they have been used in all types of healthcare and medical research. And her particular cell line, which is called HeLa, H-E-L-A, have been used for treatments for polio and leukemia. I think they've been in space, and if there is a movie about it, it's on HBO. And of course, like I mentioned, the book as well. There's a lot of information about her. So I just wanted to lift her up as someone who didn't quite get the recognition that she deserved, at least not right away. So I just wanted to call that up and to give her some flowers today. So I want to start off by giving some statistics, some stats basically on where we're at. I'm sure most of you have been keeping up with the news. There was a press conference today where Pence has announced that there's going to be even more changes potentially coming about that are going to be officially announced tomorrow. And tomorrow, so that we can put a timestamp on this, because I want folks to make sure that you're getting the most current information. So I'm recording this on a Sunday. So if all things go well, I will have this up by Monday. So if I get it up by tonight, then you'll have it, and then obviously the press conference that I've just mentioned will be tomorrow on Monday. And the statistics that I'm going to give you are from today, are current as of today. So this may change, and I want to be very clear about that you always need to be looking at the CDC, their website. They keep very accurate information. Keep watching abreast of the news. And if you're anyone like me, stay off social media, right? Because we've all seen that video, that remix of Cardi B talking about the coronavirus, which is, while it's hilarious, I don't know, it's but it's hilarious. Anyway, so let's get to it. So right now, current as of this evening, there are 168,680 confirmed cases of the coronavirus, which is COVID-19. Okay. There are that many, 168,680 confirmed cases. Of that, there have been 6,571 deaths, which, doing the math on that percent-wise, is about 4% of the confirmed cases. In the U.S., we've had 3,621 confirmed cases. 63 have been fatal. 59 have recovered. All right. So we all know as of now that there has been a travel ban to and from Europe. And according to the press conference that Mike Pence had, that's going to extend to the UK and Ireland as of Monday. So we all know the NBA is suspended. Y'all probably went to that boy's mentions and given him the damn blues because he didn't cancel all the games. A lot of concerts have already been canceled, and numerous schools have been closing. Just some of the ones, of course, Maryland has closed, Ohio, Georgia, New Hampshire, Minnesota, Illinois, Florida, and I'm sure that there are more. and some of them I believe are closing for 2 weeks. That's Maryland has closed for the next 2 weeks. And as far as colleges, a lot of colleges are switching to an online platform. So, obviously, if you are in college, you should have already been notified through your school about what the plan is going to be. And I'm still in school, so my school has notified me that there is a great chance that, first of all, we're all virtual right now anyway, but that there's a chance that future activities may also be virtual or postponed. We don't know fully yet. My program is not in person until June, so who knows? I may be able to go, I may not. But for right now, all classes are going to be held virtually. And also we know Spain and Italy are on a lockdown, like a 100% lockdown. Okay. A part of this press conference that was held today, Mike Pence also discussed the possibility of testing, of being able to test for the virus. And that is something that is going to be forthcoming. It is possible that there may be some domestic travel bans. It is also possible that, restaurants, like going to restaurants, may be banned too. I don't know. I mean, that's still very much so premature. But again, a lot of major events have been canceled if it's over a certain size. And I believe something from the CDC just came out saying that they're saying that you should not engage in groups of more than 50 people. So again, keep abreast. This is just current information that I've gotten as I've started recording this on the 15th of March. So if you're listening to this afterwards, don't take my word as gospel. Please go to the CDC's website, get informed, make sure that you're staying up to date. And also, and we are going to touch on this definitely, especially with jobs. If you're, depending on where you work, your company should, at this point, have told you whether they want you to come in or not. Now, this is going to be it's going to be a lot different for restaurants, especially fast food, things of that nature, construction. It's going to be different, possibly for those folks. My job has already kind of, well, I don't know how to describe it. They basically told us, given us some guidance. I won't do them. I'm not going to give my job a hard time or anyone else's job, but just wanted to put that out there. And we are definitely going to get into that a little bit more in depth here. Whew. A sigh. Social justice. How do these things that I've just mentioned, how is this disease, or this virus rather, not disease, how is this virus impacting us in a social justice manner? So a couple things that we should also be aware of regarding the coronavirus is that there are folks that are at higher risk, and those are going to be older adults, as well as people with pre-existing and chronic medical conditions. So heart disease, diabetes, and lung disease are some examples. And again, I pulled this straight from the CDC's website. So you might be wondering, all right, girl, well, how does this all relate to social justice? And it relates in a few ways. Some of the things that I've been reading and researching, and again, as usual, I will always have links that you guys can do some research on your own. But the things that I've been noticing is there's first of all, a lot of racism. A lot of racism towards the Asian American community. They've seen a very severe decline in their business. In Chinatowns around the country, there's just been a very significant decrease in the number of patrons going to, Chinese American or Asian American establishments. And that ain't nothing but good old fashioned racism and xenophobia, period. Because they're Americans, and someone might say, oh, well, how do you know they haven't been over to China and popped back? You don't. The same way you don't know if anybody else has been to wherever, to China, to Italy, or anywhere else and popped on back. So what are we talking about? But anyway, that's definitely, there's been an uptick in that. And generally, and we've seen these kinds of things before. We've seen this with Ebola. We've seen these racially motivated fears that come out when there are diseases, especially depending on what country they originate from. So there's definitely been an uptick of hostility, out and out hostility towards Asian Americans. And this isn't new, for instance, the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, which we have touched on this podcast before. And in that particular Exclusion Act, Chinese immigrants were banned from entering the United States. It's just the same kind of recycled fear that does not make, as someone has said, that fear does not make for good policy. And it also doesn't make for good social interactions either. So that's happening. And then on top of that, there's a lot of ageism. There's a lot of oh, well, it's only affecting the olds. And that's not cool. Largely because our elders, and you can say however you feel about the baby boomers, and you can get all in your feelings about that, about what they didn't do to protect the environment and the fool things they told you about, working. Most baby boomers' advice that I've heard and gotten myself has been, oh, just get a job and just stay there and they'll promote you, which, and we now know is not necessarily the truth. But regardless, they're still our elders. They deserve to be respected. And if we're talking about, making certain that we are protecting everyone, that doesn't include just the healthy. That includes those who have pre-existing conditions and our elders. They've worked hard, they've put in their work, and now they deserve to be still protected, especially now when they're not as able to work as hard, or they are retired, and they're not able to, be a part. Basically, they're not able to be economically contributors anymore. And there's going to come a time when we're not economically fit anymore to contribute to society. Should we just be taken out to pasture? No. Some of y'all knees hurt right now. Come on, time is not forever, neither are these knees. And we're not going to be able to do the same things. And we're going to want to have someone to say, well, you know what? I'm going to protect our elders. I'm going to protect this particular elder because they've worked hard to make sure that we had what we needed growing up. There's a lot of that going around. There's still a lot of people who have been told while this has all been developing, that are still going out. That are still going out and participating in outside activities. I'm actually guilty of this myself. And I'm not going to do it anymore, I promise. But basically, people are still going out knowing that they're healthy and knowing that being out and even possibly being exposed to the coronavirus and leading to its spread will more likely affect the elderly. So we really have that perspective to look at this as well. And also, as we've been discussing, and I'm sure if you've watched the press conference they held today, or just in general, you've noticed that there's a growing concern for our healthcare infrastructure. And we haven't quite touched on this subject, and I think it might be time to put a pin in this so we can come back to it at a later time. But right now, as we know and we've seen, there's a lack of beds available within our hospitals for any kind of major uptick of health crisis like we're seeing. So, and the approach to that is more of I assume this is more of a triage like they do on the battlefield, where, you tend to the ones who are, more likely to live. And again, getting back into ageism, so that's going to cut a lot of people out of being attended to. And, I think maybe this is one of those subjects that Danielle and I will probably get well more in depth into, but I want to call that up that, we know that the healthcare system is not as savvy and as set up as it could or should be. I mean, that's pretty clear. So anytime there's situations like this, it's going to put a strain on an already strained system. And last but certainly not least, another social justice aspect of this is the homeless. Unfortunately, African Americans, even though we're only 13% of the population in the U.S., we make up 40% of the homeless population. And just by virtue of being homeless means that you are not getting or receiving the amount of care and just anything, oversight that you need. So depending on what the reasoning is behind why they're homeless, which could be varied. It could be mental illness. It could just be lack of employment. It could be a number of things. Again, like, I hate to bring this up on y'all, but most people cannot survive a $500 emergency. And that is no shade. It's the truth. So even if you don't have any pre-existing medical conditions or any kind of mental health issues, as a person who could potentially cannot survive that type of crisis, a lot of us are one check away from being homeless our damn selves. So, this is something very serious. And if that were to be the case, if someone unfortunately is experiencing homelessness, they are more likely to, not receive the health care, not have the access to the health care that they need. So these are the things that I'm talking about when I'm saying that this is, these are social justice issues, and that this coronavirus is definitely shining a light on a lot of these issues in particular, that we have not addressed. I've also seen some very interesting stuff about feeling like, well, if this response or this level of response to, the coronavirus, why isn't there this level of response to things like, homelessness and the housing crisis and things like that too. And I would definitely, in some ways, agree with that. Obviously, this is something that needs to be low-key addressed like now because of how quickly it is impacting us. But yes, like, absolutely, housing is an issue. Obviously, homelessness and the housing crisis are sort of one and the same, in the sense that, if we had houses that people could afford, folk could live in them. All right. So I just wanted to put that out there. And another aspect of this that I wanted to touch on this episode is really this concept of hygiene. Now, I've seen y'all on the internet talking about, y'all extending Black History Month because some of y'all done thought that we can't get we don't get this here virus because we got melanin. And I'm just here to let y'all know that ain't true. It ain't true. Yeah, it's not true. It's not true. And I just want to tell you, I'm trying to, okay, it's not true is the point. And it's interesting because this really hits on a lot of other myths that that are very interesting. And the reason that I say that is, like, this concept of cleanliness. And I'm not saying it, I know we've all made jokes, about like how, like, white folk don't wash their legs. I mean, that's not really a joke. I mean, there was literally discourse online about how some folk don't wash their legs. And okay, I'm not going there right now. So but this idea of cleanliness, which actually, was definitely a part of some of the propaganda, I would say, that came out of slavery, that came out of Reconstruction and Jim Crow laws, like the vagrancy laws, which would basically said that if you were just sort of lying around somewhere, that you could be arrested. And it feeds into this concept of laziness. And the reason that I bring this up is because a lot of the myths and things that we think about even the things that we think about ourselves in terms of our levels of cleanliness, I think a lot of that comes from the stigma placed on us that we were not clean to begin with, which of course is not true. And I think that is one of the things that we've prided ourselves on as a people, because of so many things that we were looked down upon for having or not having, or being portrayed as not having. So I wanted to call that out, mostly not to make people feel bad about the whole joke about us being immune to Ebola, about us being immune to the coronavirus, but really to touch on kind of getting into where those things come from. And it is not, and I'm not trying to be one of those people that's like, it's slavery, everything is slavery. It's not everything is slavery, but you gotta know your history, and you gotta know the root. You can't get to the solution unless you get to the root. So I am going to evoke slavery in this case. I am going to bring up the Jim Crow laws because it's applicable. That's the point I wanted to make. There's this concept of our cleanliness and our hygiene has always, I feel, underlying or subtly has always been there, and something that has been the subject of discourse and ridicule. There's been so many opinions about who we are as people and what we are capable of and limited to. And, it's always been about social status. Even these things that I'm talking about, like, for example, like the welfare queens, like these images of us as just these lazy, lackadaisical people is really not the truth. And I don't know if I need to tell y'all this, but y'all know that there's more white folks on welfare than us anyway, but that's another talk show. I just wanted to call that out because I've seen a lot of discussion about cleanliness online, and I've heard a lot about it. Even some of the things that we're seeing where I went to Target on Saturday. Soap is out. Like, soap's out here. There's plenty of soap. Lots of soap. You know what there ain't? Toilet paper. So I'm confused. So are y'all going to like massively poop your pants and then what you gonna wash your hands and body with? Okay. The toilet paper? Stupids. So now people who actually need toilet paper can't get none. How does that make any sense? Okay, that's not what I came here for. I'm sorry. This is not what I came here for. But I did want to call that out. Why is there no toilet paper? Why have you hooligans taken all the tissue? Anyway, so these are the things that I wanted to call out. And, this is more of like, I guess, like another call to action episode. So I didn't really want to keep you guys too long. I just wanted to get into this a little bit. I wanted to talk about, give you some of the information that we have, that it's current, and also delve into these subjects. And I really hope that you all are, staying vigilant, washing your hands and your feet and legs and everything else. Don't touch your face, and if you can, avoid public settings. Please keep a pulse on your jobs. I would love for folks to let me know, especially if you don't work like a traditional 9 to 5, if you're someone that works, construction or retail or any of these things, like, please let me know, like, what your experience is right now in your workplace. What's the message that you guys are getting? I mean, we've, as consumers, have gotten all the messages. I mean, everyone and their mother has emailed me. Sephora girl, Rita's, Ice, everybody has emailed saying, hey, oh yeah. So we know what the retailers are saying, but I'd be interested and curious to know what the staff is saying. What's the plan? What's the sentiment? Please let me know. I'm very interested in wanting to know, how everyone is coping with this. I mean, in my house, is we got the vegetables, so I'm not starving to death. It's just, when will I be able to go back to the grocery store? When will there be like groceries? I don't know. And I have got toilet paper, but I need to share it because some of my friends and colleagues have run out. So, y'all. And also, if folks are interested in getting involved and wanting to help their neighbors or help their community, if you want to, check with the county that you live in, check with the city that you live in, and see if they have an emergency fund. See if you can donate to that, because that can go to helping in the relief effort for folks who are ill, folks who are unable to work. That's definitely a way to be supportive. I've been looking personally into maybe doing that, like donating to the emergency fund, but also potentially maybe going to visit with some elderly folks. Not certain if that's a good idea or not, and if you are interested in doing that, I would definitely check first if you have an elderly or residential community close by. I would definitely check with them first to see what their policy is, because as I mentioned, they are the ones that are more likely to be impacted by the coronavirus, and I think those are definitely just a couple of great ways that you can show your support and help other members of your community. And also stay home. Stay your ass in the house. You ain't got just stay in the house. It ain't gonna be no hand washing enough in the world. Stay in the house. Okay, sorry. But stay in the house. Like, don't go out there and mixing and mingling and sneezing in your hand and stuff. Nobody has time for that. Yeah, just and adhere to basic cleanliness laws. Like, sneeze into your arm if you can. Sneeze down. Cover your mouth. The basic stuff. Don't stare people too hard in the face. Just mind your business and keep your head down. And if you can, stay in the house. Also, it kind of sucks because, like, the gas is really cheap, which I didn't realize until people told me, like, girl, this gas is cheap. And I was like, what? Like, these are like, like, like post 9/11 prices. Anyway, I'm sorry. That's not nice. I'm taking that out. That's terrible. But I'm serious. Like, the gas price is real cheap. Gas price real cheap. It's real cheap. See, this is what happens when I don't have Danielle with me to, like, keep me on target, because normally she'd be giving a whole bunch of facts. I mean, I gave y'all some facts. It's not like I just came on here and talked crazy for 30 minutes. I actually did have my ducks in a row. But again, I'm sure we will, she and I will definitely get into this a lot more in depth. But I wanted to make certain that there was a pulse being kept on this and really looking at this from a social justice standpoint. Again, and as always, you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at All Roads Cross. Oh, I'm sorry, that's my website. My website is allroadscross.com. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, Crossroads Podcast or Crossroads Pod C1 on Facebook and Twitter. The show is available on SoundCloud, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Hopefully, we'll see. Maybe I'll expand that into some other platforms as well. And I will be back soon, sooner rather than later, to talk about this some more. But I just want to drop some gems off real quick on y'all and keep going, keep pressing forward. This will not be forever. That we've gone through these things before, and we'll get through them again. All right. So I'll see you all at the crossroads.